Hey guys, it's Tom here, and it's 2012, so Happy New Year, I guess. That also means that the year in film of 2011, it's done. And we don't have to think about it anymore, but we do, because this here is going to be my 2011 retrospective, my favourite films of 2011. I've got my festivities up, it's in a nice relaxed setting, I've got my Baileys with ice, it's going to be magical. You know what, let's just pretend that it's not January the 3rd. I mean, this might be a little bit inappropriate for January the 3rd, maybe. Let's just pretend it's December 28th, because yeah, let's do that. It's December 28th. Merry Christmas, everyone. This is my top 10 favourite films of 2011, and this is my first drink, believe it or not. Yeah, that's happening. My number 10 film is a film that I'm actually surprised is on my list. I don't necessarily know if I like it fully, I just know it was ballsy, it really made me think, and that is the film Super. Rainn Wilson dresses in a superhero costume, runs around his city and bashes people over the head with a wrench. I'm so over superhero movies at this point, they've just bashed it over my head over and over again. Thor, Captain America, Green Lantern, just terrible, terrible movies. And this film for me felt like a breath of fresh air. It was doing something different. The tone of the film, was played it very straight. It played it like an ordinary superhero film, like a Captain America or something. That's what the way the film was presented, the way it was directed, and the score, and the way it was acted. And yet you were watching this extreme violence by these insane people. And it really made me think about the other superhero films I've been seeing all year. For example, when Captain America runs down a corridor and just bashes every guy, every faceless goon he sees. And there's no consequences to that. But in this film, you see the consequences. It's weird and messy and the tone's all off. But it's something I really connected with and made me think. So I had to give it some credit, and that's why it's my number 10. My number 9 film of the year is Bridesmaids. I love this movie, I really did. It made me laugh more than any other film this year. I had such a good time with it. I thought it was super well written. It was well acted across the cast. I really loved all of these characters and their relationships with each other. It felt really genuine to me, and even those smaller moments between the characters, it really understood how to portray that friendship really well. I was just laughing all the way through it. I found it hilarious, and it was a little bit long. Some of the gags were drawn out a little bit too far maybe, but I can live with that. I mean, I had a good time with it, and it's just the perfect movie to get a few friends together and eat snacks and drink wine or something, and just stay up all night watching movies. This is the perfect movie to watch on that occasion. Number 9, Bridesmaids, great job. Number 8, Lars von Trier's Melancholia. I really responded to this when I first saw it. I just had this really fond memory of it. It really went for it. I loved the bombastic opening and the way it was mirrored in the end. I loved the way that the film went into this kind of cinema verite style in the middle. I really enjoyed the humour of it. I thought, for example, Charlotte Rampling was hilarious. I just loved that sequence. I'm just always entertained by Lars von Trier and his dialogue and his characters. Beautifully acted across the board. I think it's a really great film about depression and about the apocalypse. My number 7 film is We Need to Talk About Kevin. It's an absolutely flawless adaptation of a really difficult book. Really wonderfully edited film. The way it jumps between different timelines is so effortless. The use of sound in those moments is flawless. Tilda Swinton is absolutely incredible, and I will say right now that she is my favourite performance of the year. I think that performance is absolutely astonishing. I just think it's a really incredible portrayal of motherly ambivalence, of blame and guilt and memory. It's astonishing. I really want to see it again, actually. I haven't seen it since it was released, and it left a really powerful imprint on me. Believe it or not, my 6th favourite film of 2011 is Hobo with a Shotgun. I had so much fun with this, you guys. You have to see it if you've not seen it. It's crazy. Rutger Hauer is a homeless man who buys a shotgun and then goes out to clean the streets with it. And it's like the most vile town you could possibly imagine. Rutger Hauer is insane. Such a great performance. It's so creative in its violence. It's super violent, by the way. If you're turned off by blood, then you don't want to see this movie. But it's really creative. The action is really, really well shot. It's well acted. It's really funny. Like, it's really hilarious. There are so many great quotable lines in this. I could watch this film over and over again. And to make a really dumb exploitation film, you need really smart people behind it. I really loved it, and I'm owning that. I really loved it. My number 5 favourite film of the year is A Separation, a really wonderful Iranian film about a couple who decide that they're going to get a divorce because the wife wants to move away to provide a better home for her and her family, but the husband does not want to move because his father is at home with Alzheimer's and he has to look after him. Since his wife has moved out, the man hires some help for his father, but that gets complicated and it turns into a kind of legal issue, and then there's their daughter stuck in the middle of everything. The story itself was incredibly compelling and I was completely hooked by it. All of the characters felt completely, fully realised. They were all real people who could really grab hold of. They were complex, morally ambiguous. You constantly shift the way that you feel about them. It deals with a lot of complexity. It has huge themes in it, dealing with big political themes, gender themes, religious, criminal themes, huge themes that it's tackling, but in a very small story, and it never draws attention to the fact that it's dealing with these themes, which I think is wonderful. It never distracts from that. It's not trying to be a message movie. It allows you to really just look and see what's happening and make up your own mind. I really love this film. I think it's probably, in my opinion, the best film, technically. The way it's put together, it feels like a perfect film. I connected with the ones above it a little bit more, but if I was to recommend any of these films kind of universally, this would be the one. Go and see this film if you haven't already, it's absolutely phenomenal. Number 4 is Poetry. It's a South Korean film. I believe it came out in South Korea in 2010. I think it came out in the US in 2010 as well, but it came out over here in the summer. And linking back to the last one, it's about an older lady. She's a grandmother and she finds out that she has Alzheimer's. She's looking after her teenage grandson and she decides that she's going to enroll in a poetry course. And it's a really beautifully tender story. It's not even remotely sentimental. It's dealing with it with complete honesty and truth, and I really connected with this film. The lead actress, Yoon Jung-hae, I'm probably pronouncing that terribly, was absolutely incredible in this. Such subtlety in what she was doing. It was so moving. It could have been dealt with in such a heavy-handed way, but it was dealt with such tenderness, and I really loved it. I think the way that it balances her life, what she's doing in her life, her poetry classes, is expertly done. I really loved this film. My third favourite film of the year is Drive. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Drive because everyone else has, but it's such a great film to bathe in its atmosphere. I loved how slowly the film allowed itself to move in the beginning, and then it punctuated itself with wonderful sequences of extreme ultra-violence. I really appreciated how it was paced. Ryan Gosling's performance is absolutely fantastic, and it was probably my favourite experience in the cinema this year. I was on the edge of my seat, mouth agape, wondering what was going to happen next, and just really involved with everything that was happened. I was completely sucked in by this film. My second favourite film of the year is Kelly Reichardt's Meek's Cut Off. Wonderful film. It's so small and so understated. Hardly any characters. It's about a group of characters travelling across the Oregon Trail and they get lost along the way. They capture a Native American and they have to follow him and trust him to take them to water because they're lost and they're running out of supplies, and they don't know if he's taking them to water or if he's taking them to their doom. Every single second of this film was filled with absolute terror and tension. You have absolutely no idea what's going to happen next. A tiny little mistake that any of them make could cause them all just to die. The stakes are so high. I've already told you how much I love Michelle Williams in my Week with Marilyn review, but this for me is the best performance of the year. She is absolutely ferocious in this film, and she doesn't have that much dialogue, she doesn't have that much screen time really, but every time that she comes on screen and she says anything, it's full of this energy and really captivating. The film as a whole is very slow paced and not that much happens, but it has these great scenes in them, and the slow build up throughout the film really allows those scenes to come alive, and the way that they're shot, the way that they're created, the tension's already been building all the way through, and when they happen, it really feels like something big is happening. The ending sequence, the very final shot, I loved that. The moment when Michelle Williams pulls out the shotgun and points it at one of the other characters, it's absolutely on the edge of your seat. what the hell is going to happen, oh my god, what's happening. And then the third sequence, the moment where they have to roll the wooden cart down the hill, is the most terrifying sequence in cinema all year. It's terrifying. You know that if this goes wrong, this could mean the end of them. It's absolutely horrifying. You'll know exactly what I mean when you see it, but you have to take my word for it. This film, we'll be talking about this film in years to come, I bet you. Kelly Reichardt, she is one incredible filmmaker. So I guess we've reached the point in the proceedings wherein I reveal my favourite film of 2011. That film would be Le Quatre Volte. I've loved a lot of films this year. I think it's been an absolutely fantastic year, especially for art house cinema. But this film just got to me in a way that no other film did, and there was no question for me that it was going to be my number one. This is probably going to sound completely ridiculous, but just bear with me. The film follows an elderly goat herder in a remote Italian village. We follow him for a while, and he's clearly ill. We know he's probably going to be living out the last few days of his life, and we follow him. But after a while, the camera begins to follow a goat, and then the camera follows a tree, and then we see charcoal production and follow the charcoal and what happens to the charcoal. That's basically the whole film. There's hardly any dialogue in it, and me saying that sounds silly, really. I know it sounds silly, but when you see this film, you'll know exactly what I mean. I felt like a child watching this film. Even the most basic things that were happening. There was a scene, for example, where there's a group of goats in a barn, and one of them knocks over a broom, and then they all scatter when it falls over. And I was just there staring at the screen in this childlike wonder, just amazed at what was happening in front of me. The tone at which this film strikes is, seriously, it's about life and death and the soul and reincarnation, I guess. All the different states of life. It's about as profound as you possibly can get. And it's about a goat herder. It took me by surprise as well, I'll say that. There's a sequence in this film where a goat is travelling with all the other goats, and at one point in the journey it's taking across a field, it gets trapped in this ditch. And all the goats continue moving across the field. And this lone goat just is stuck in this ditch and it can't get out, and it's calling out for its family and calling and calling and calling, and they just keep leaving, they just keep wandering off into the distance and until you can't see them anymore. And it's devastating, it's heart-wrenching, and I cried. I don't cry in films. Almost never. There's been only a handful, I can probably count it on one hand, of the number of films I've cried to. And I wept in this film. It's completely ridiculous. And wow. Wow, okay, yeah, I admitted that. That happened. If this film has the power to make me weep uncontrollably because a goat is stuck in a ditch, then it's my number one film of the year. There's absolutely no doubt about it, and I've probably just lost all credibility because of this. Okay. Anyway, yeah, okay. Anyway guys, once again, Happy New Year. I hope you have a good one. Here's to another great year of film. If you agree or disagree with anything I've said, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what your favourite film of the year is. And I'll see you for the next film review in 2012. Looks like that's done. I had a nice time. Did you have a nice time? I had a good time. It was fun. I think I need to see a therapist. I mean, why didn't I just cry in 50-50 like everyone else? Really? Goat herding, really? Yes, really. See the damn movie, it's great.